Welcome back. It's day 68 of Art Every Day. It's July 18th, 2026. So if you're new to this channel, I've just been doing a little bit of drawing, painting, sketching, studies, that sort of thing for the past 2 months now. Coming up on 3 sooner than I realize, I think. And I don't usually structure these videos in any particular way, so it's not a tutorial. It's not, I guess, very heavily edited. I try to just treat this like a live stream almost, and just draw, paint, learn. And if that sounds like something you're interested in, maybe it might be fun to have this on in the background while you work on something else. So today is going to be similar to my video a couple days ago. So yesterday was kind of like a bit of a shitpost video in a way. I drew a very concerning drawing of Erling Haaland. I don't know why it looked the way that it did, but I'm going to go back to my architectural studies. So today is a different style of building, so I'm not sure what you would consider the other one in my previous video, but these are, according to this image I found on Google, Palladian style. So this is Palladian style architecture. So what I'm gonna do, last time I think I drew the thing, and I drew it one at a time, maybe each thing. I think that did help kind of embed it into my memory. So I might do the same thing. I might do something similar. So let's get started with the base here. So this is in slight 3-point perspective, so the walls slightly tilt up that direction until we get to our top of our second story there. Same on the opposite side. And I think this might be a little too short. So let's go just a little bit higher there. And that might be closer to where we're at. So this is, I'm going to draw what I think this looks like in plan view. A Palladian style building. I looked it up. It's focused on symmetry. It's, again, another classical architectural style. So if you're looking at it, this is facing towards the back. This is the face of the building here. And if you've got this sort of deck with columns in front there. So let's get, speaking of symmetry, let's find our halfway mark here. It's probably around there. The building. So I've got an arrow in the image pointing at it, and it says pediment. Pediment. Suck. Pediment. All right, it's a triangular gable. In classical architecture, triangle with a horizontal structure such as a cornice. Okay. And cornice, I learned last time, is that structure underneath. So this is the pediment, the whole structure here. And the cornice sits just underneath. This is called a cornice with dentils. Guessing that's just like a tooth-like structure. Because if you look at the drawing online, it looks something like this. Let me see if I can replicate this. So here's our cornice underneath. And there are small, evenly spaced tooth-like structures. And these repeat on the upper half there. And I'm not right now focused on getting this perfectly, so maybe the spacing could be a little bit off. Maybe the count can be wrong, but I'm just trying to get the impression here of what it looks like. And I think that looks pretty good. Step them back. So here's our cornice. There's a bit more detail in there like that. Cornice does come down a little more. It's very light, gentle. And then following along the top edge here, it's another. I'm actually going to check something really quick. So I've been wanting to check out the library here, but I don't know the hours. Maybe I'll find a book. They're closed. Don't open until Monday. Dang it. Y'all, we need to fund our libraries. I think that's a non-controversial thing that most people can get behind. Jets out in front like that. Maybe a little steep from an angle. So then we've got, I'm gonna guess that these are dentils as well. We've got these dots that come up along the edge here. Looking at it, I think I'm drawing this wrong where... No, I'm not. No, I'm not. This is right. This is right. It's up and down, not tilted sideways, but it's easy for my hand to just kind of naturally lead to make the assumption that it should be sideways a little bit. Now let me look up the... Because I'm just assuming that that's what these are called. Because dentals makes me think of dentist, so it must be teeth. Dental. Yes, evenly spaced rectangular blocks. Evenly spaced. Typically found around cornices or crown molding. Well, what do you know? Right, so there's our dentals. Now, in the center of this pediment, there is sort of a semicircular window. And I'm going to draw the panes instead of drawing in the shadow of the panes. If that makes sense at all. And it looks like this is called an elliptical window. In pediment. And that's not even like a technical term, that's just a description of what it is. It's a window, it's an ellipse, it's inside of a pediment. Nice. Now, let's continue to move on to some other details here. Looks like there's a cornice over on the edge here. Is this a cornice or is this a different thing? What it says on here is that this series of lines down below is a frieze. So get that arrow. Freezes. It's just a freeze. Not freezes, freeze. And let me make sure I understand what that is. It's just a long stretch, painted, sculpted, or even calligraphic decoration. So that's exactly what this is. It's just so it could be, this is where I'm remembering this. So it used to be, I think, in the past, you would have a story inside the frieze, like some characters inside of there. Now it's just sort of a decoration, a decorative element. Let's continue now. So there's an arrow pointing at this. It says architrave. Now, what is an architrave? And why is it called that? Decorative molding or trim installed around doorways, windows, or other wall openings. Seals the cat. Nah, that feels wrong. Here we go. Classical architecture. Architrave is the main horizontal beam or lintel that rests directly on top of a column's capital. It's the lowermost section of an entablature. So why is it pointing at that? I think we've got another case of whoever made this doesn't know. Maybe they knew what they're talking about, but didn't. It was an architrave. Alright. Yep, it's the lowermost beam. So architrave. And I'm gonna point to the real architrave there. And I'll get that point like this. Maybe I'll do a drawing on the side to show the real real architrave is. Would the real architrave please stand up? We've got, I know this from our last one, coins. I think that's how this is pronounced. Coins there. It's a little messy towards the bottom, but point. So there's a foundation underneath this building. I don't have any terms for those yet. Alright, now let's get some columns in here. So there are 4 columns in front of this, underneath this pediment. So one here. Oops. One here. These are not perfectly evenly spaced, I'm realizing. In the original drawing, that is. There's a bit more of a gap in the center. Now these all rest on plinths. I think it's how it's pronounced. P-L-I-N-T-H. Not worried about getting this perfect. Just getting the point across here. Looks like there's another column in the background that I'll allude to. I'm not really worried about depicting perfectly. But there's another plinth there. And we've got the it's kind of a railing coming down in front of it. And stairs descending. So let's get an arrow pointing at that. This is called a plinth. And I know that this is a column. Still point it out, just so I cover all bases here. Now here are some interesting parts, pieces. So here's the doorway. I'm going to try and make that directly in the center there. And the interesting thing about this doorway is it has side lights. Literally called side lights. It's just the kind of window next to it. Side lights. So sometimes these are very fancy. Usually when I've seen them, they're sort of a more warmer, earthier color, so green, stained glass. And then we've got architrave on top of here, and inside of the architrave, we've got another window here. this is being pointed out as something different. This is called a fan light. Okay, let me check something before I draw it. Okay, so there is inside of this balcony. There's along either side there. And there's a railing in there. Not too worried about how that looks, as long as it gets the point across. Is another doorway up at the top here, about the same size as the one underneath, matches the one underneath. I know my perspective is all off and it's all wonky here. That's okay, that's okay. The point is not to have perfect perspective for this, to have I'm just trying to learn and grow my vocabulary. So we've got this structure here. And I'm not sure, it looks like this might be a window. Or some kind of a glass door. But apparently having this inside of the pediment, inside of the porchway, makes this entire thing a double portico. So that just means that here's the building. I guess an example would be the White House, right? So here's your entrance. I think I know what I'm talking about, but it's usually something like this where there's a second story within this column structure. Here we are. There are windows on this building, but none of them are pointed out as particularly important or historic, but they do have some 6/6s. The 6/6 window, again, just as review for myself. If you haven't seen Thursday's video, 6 panels on top of 6 other panels. So here's the first set of panels, the second set of panels down there. And this is pretty common in classical architecture, and I think like colonial style architecture. I notice a lot of these windows where I live in Albany area and Troy. So a lot of northeast coast colonial style. Not sure if it's Dutch colonial or what you would call it, but that's a 6/6. All right, so that's a little more learning today. What have I learned? I learned that these little dots that are strung along inside of the pediments and above the friezes and along the cornices are called dentils. I relearned that this is a cornice, that this is a frieze, and I learned that the bottommost part is called an architrave. learned that this style of two-story porches is called a double portico. These windows along the side are called side lights, and the window above is called a fanlight. And I think I also knew that this is called a plinth, but I forgot. I knew that word, but I didn't know what it was, so it's good to refresh that. And I also learned that this is a Palladian style architecture, architectural building or drawing, I guess you could say. So yeah, that's it for today, I think. Learned a little bit more, practiced a little bit more, and I feel like my line control is getting a bit better. These arches or these columns were kind of a test. I noticed that they weren't perfect, but the sides of the buildings felt pretty good. But what's most important is I had fun with it. So that's it for today. Thanks for stopping by. And tomorrow I'm debating if I'm gonna keep doing more of these style drawings or if I want to start shifting to another topic again. I am having a lot of fun studying architectural terms. And again, if this is your first time here, I'm hoping to do more Studio Ghibli style art, and learning how to draw buildings and learning how to draw streetscapes it kind of requires that I know how to draw buildings like this. Not in this particular style, so maybe in the future, instead of classical architecture like Palladian architecture or colonial architecture, I might shift away and study different cultural architecture, right? So Japanese style, Nepali style, Indian style, and that would be a lot of fun. That would be pretty interesting, I think. So thanks again for stopping by, and I hope I'll see you tomorrow.